The Kansas City Chiefs are 5-0, undefeated after beating the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're going to talk about Pat Mahomes, the pass rush, and the aftermath coming right now. Welcome back to RGR. We have a lot to talk about. The Chiefs have actually moved themselves into a prime position in the NFL as the top of the AFC at 5-0 after beating the Jacksonville Jaguars, the top 2 defense in the NFL. A great accomplishment for them. A lot of good things and a number of bad things as well. We're going to talk about all of it. If you're new here, I'm Ryan, and this is RGR. I'm going rogue about the NFL and the Kansas City Chiefs, as well as the AFC West a little bit. And if you are new, make sure you hit the subscribe and the notification. Give me a thumbs up if you like what you're seeing, and leave your comments and join the conversation here. If you're an old hand, welcome back. Appreciate you checking out another one. And definitely want to know what you guys think after that Jacksonville game. There was a lot of talk beforehand, and there was a lot of talk afterwards, actually. We're going to talk about some of that. But we're going to start with the quarterback. And Patrick Mahomes actually really impressed me. More so than I thought he would for that particular performance. And a lot of folks were waiting, just here and there, waiting, until he would throw some interceptions. And he did. He forced a ball into one that I think just got away from him with a wet ball and the conditions there. Another one, he just did what we always thought he would do. Didn't see a defender that was closing in on a receiver and gave up a pick that way. But here's the key for me. Patrick Mahomes didn't back down. He didn't let it get him down. He's done this before, and he just kept on trucking. Kept his leadership ability, kept his positive attitude from everything that we've heard out of the locker room. And if you missed any of that, make sure you check out the post-game show. We had Matt Derrick on the Locked On Chiefs podcast. That was enlightening as well. But that's the big thing about this kid is he's a leader, whether he's winning or making mistakes or throwing incredible passes, which he did some of that as well. We're going to talk about one in particular here, and it really shows what he's capable of and how comfortable he is with his arm and his accuracy, even when it's pouring down rain. And it was a wet field out there. They got a respite there in the second half, but in the first half in particular, it was very soggy out there. And this pass to Anthony Sherman really shows what he's capable of. And whether you think Anthony Sherman's a good player or not, I personally do. I mean, y'all know how I feel. But lined up as a tight end on the inside, very interesting to see him be able to use his athletic ability and Mahomes to trust him on that little corner route against Telvin Smith, who's maybe the fastest linebacker in the league, and a guy that talked up his game quite a bit. And you see him just put it out, outstretched hands, and Pat Mahomes just slid it over there. Sherman did the rest. Didn't get another touch, but hey, Sherman's good for one catch a game basically, and they're all pretty big. So I think this shows you exactly what they can do, and that weather isn't a condition that bothers them, that they don't have to rein themselves in. And I think that that's really what this quarterback had to do on this game. And to throw for 300 yards, despite interceptions, and still come out with a win, that's really key for a young quarterback, to have that confidence that his team's going to support him even when he makes mistakes. Now, the other thing that I really liked is they showed really early, first play from scrimmage, what I think is going to be a teaser for the future. And I kind of relate it to a basketball team in ball handling skills because it takes several of them. Really great sell on this fake to the screen pass and then back to Tyreek Hill. And unfortunately, so unfortunate that somebody had to get called for a penalty here and ruin that play. But I think it's something they can come back to. They can build on it in the future, and it's going to pay off for them. It's a really nice play design. And again, it's like we saw early in the season, those little shovel passes. It's something they can build upon that action for other options. And believe me, all these things are going to come back around towards the end of the season, and particularly in the postseason. You're going to see all of these again, so keep that in mind. Want to say that Patrick Mahomes was not the only guy out there balling. All of his receivers, pass catchers were doing great. Had a little bit of a hiccup on the offensive line. We'll talk about injuries here in a little bit, but I thought they played probably their best game of the season. Mitch Schwartz against the Jaguars and the Broncos, 2 pass rush teams, 1 pressure. 1. That's really impressive. Not only is he just that Iron Man, but he's performing as well, and they're going to need that going forward. I think what you really wanted to see was something that Andy Reid stepped forward as well, and he's getting this respect from around the league. And it's not just that his play design is great. It's that he was able to motivate a team on both sides of the ball and get his defense going as well. And his play call is his play call. He's incredible about that. And what that led to is some comments from the opposition, and it was pretty respectful.
We didn't just lose, we got beat. And I ain't see this coming, man. Like I said, man, if I was a betting man, I'm betting on this defense. But that coach is legendary, man. That coach is legendary, not taking anything away from them players. But that play calling was something I've never seen before. So tip your hat to them, man. Obviously, the offensive personnel that they got. They came out here and they beat us like we stole something.
Now that echoes the overall theme of what we got from a lot of the Jacksonville players, and that was disappointment, a feeling of resolve that they'll come back and maybe see this team again in the playoffs, but clearly that they were unprepared for just how good this offense was, and being the kind of defense they are and the amount of confidence everyone had in them, that this was really kind of a letdown for them. But I think that's, again, pays homage to what Andy Reid can do, and the fact that his players are executing his vision, that goes a long, long way. Now, when we flip on the other side, there was some very positive stuff on that side as well, and some from the safeties. Unfortunately, it didn't all work out for all of these guys, and there's some injuries. And first and foremost, I want to talk about Armani Watts. I was going to get into his film, except that he got hurt. He made one really nice play in coverage, pretty straightforward and instinctual like he needs to do, and I'm really disappointed for him because it's something that he's coming into. And he was improving the last couple games, and I think he would still be on that. We're going to talk about his situation here in a minute. But the other big takeaway is that for the pass rush, they showed up. Justin Houston got hurt. We'll talk about him too. But Dee Ford stepped up. You saw him with his motor and his motivation being in a contract year, and that's really what I saw in that field, is a guy that is motivated to make his mark now for his future. But he ended up with 7 pressures on the game. Also, Breeland Speaks tied him with 7. And here's the big thing. 31 pressures on the day. Via PFF, you can check that out. If you need a subscription or whatever, there's some on the Locked On podcast. Go check that out as well. But 31 pressures according to PFF. Total for the season, the Jaguars have only given up 72. So nearly half of the pressures came against the Chiefs in this one game, and that's really a standout piece for the defensive front as a whole, but everybody, because some of the DBs got in on the action as well. Unfortunately, there was an injury to Justin Houston. He's going to be out a few games, and that brings us to Breeland Speaks. Breeland Speaks is a guy that has been slow to get going. Been a lot of questions about where he is draft pick-wise. He and Tano back and forth. Well, with the injury to Houston and that nagging injury to Dee Ford, which we hope he can come back from and be ready to play next week. They need him. Breeland Speaks played 56 snaps this last week. By far his most action. And twice what Tano Passanio played. That was aided by the ankle injury, but Tano should be on the mend. He'll still be a little gimpy is my guess. You're going to see a lot of Speaks. And I want to talk about Speaks and the way that game progressed for him. It started out a little bit dull. He wasn't getting home. He wasn't getting much of an edge. But as that game wore on, he stuck with it. And you saw him, as these plays that you're seeing now go farther and farther and farther, he got closer. There's a couple where he had a couple of sacks. Even Andy Reid had something to say about that this week. But he got progressively better at getting pressure and getting towards the quarterback, flushing him, hitting him, ended up with 7 pressures himself. That's a great sign. They need more of that out of him. I still think he needs to drop weight. He looked winded in between plays quite a bit in that fourth quarter. He's got to get his stamina up because they're going to rely on him now with Justin Houston out. And like I said, it is going to be weeks for Justin Houston. But Justin Houston isn't the only injury that we need to talk about. In foregoing more film, that's really the focus right now. LDT is out for IR for 8 weeks at a minimum. At 6 weeks, he can practice, and then they have a 3-week window to activate him. And then he can come back and try to rejoin that line, and I think they're going to miss him. They missed him a lot last season when he went out. He's a key player for that offensive group, and that's a tough loss. He'll be replaced by either Devy or Wiley or a combination of all of the above. We'll see what happens. But I think, unfortunately, they ran really well to the right side so far this season. I think that's about to change. So that puts a little emphasis on Cam Irving to do better in the run game as well. They need to get some nasty yards, not just on the poles. So look for that this week against the Patriots. And we'll talk more in the film video that I'll do here for Friday or Saturday morning. Unfortunately, Armani Watts went out as well. Same 8-week window for him. It's a groin strain for him. Must be fairly severe. We didn't get any indication of that coming out of postgame, that he would be anywhere of a candidate for IR. So they're going to give him a rest. Unfortunately, he's had a lot of bumps in his progression to this season. So let's hope that he can get back and he's healthy. But he and LDT are both on IR. Justin Houston is not, but Dan Sorensen is. A lot of questions about Dan Sorensen. We're supposed to get an evaluation update here in a couple of weeks. I personally don't feel like he's going to be able to go. That's a very difficult injury to recover from in season, but we will get an update. And here's the key to that. If he can't recover, you only have 2 chances to bring back players off of IR, designated to return, although you don't have to designate anymore. You get to bring 2 back. Well, now you have 3 guys on IR, Sorensen, Watts, and LDT. One of them, their season is over with. You only get to bring 2 back. And I think at this point, it's probably better for this team to bring back Watts and LDT. We'll see what happens, but that's where I'm thinking it's lying right now. So we'll see what happens with those injuries and those IRs, but there's a lot out there. Let me know what you think. Do you want to see Dan Sorensen? Do you want to hear about some of these trades? And I'll talk about these trades sometime if they ever come true. There's so many rumors out there right now, I can't even see straight. So if something does come down, I'll give you an extra video or we'll address it in the live post-game video. And if you've been watching those, I really appreciate it. Those are going to be Sunday evenings when they play on regular scheduled times for the Sunday night football games. And yes, Cincinnati game did get flexed to Sunday night. For those games, I'm going to record the podcast right after the game. I will try to do a live probably Monday. We'll see just how late it is, but I know a lot of folks can't really stay up super late on Sunday night to watch a live Q&A. But if you have questions, make sure you let me know, and I'll try to do it Monday. Hope you enjoy this. Make sure you check out the Film Room series for all these games if you want to go back. And coming up, the game plan for the Patriots will be out coming towards the weekend. So thank you for watching all of these. Leave your comments. If you liked it, leave that thumb up, and I'll talk to you next time.